Hi guys, I'm Krish and welcome to Encrypt Coding. In today's lesson, I'm going to be teaching you guys about if statements. Now, in basic language, a program is a series of instructions that tells your computer what to do. And an if statement is basically telling your computer, if this happens, then do that. And if this happens, then do that. And the if statement can be divided into three categories, right? First, you have your primary if statement. Then under that, you have an if else statement. And the last is your else statement. Now, if you guys have learned about what switches are in Java, you'd know that the else statement is much like a default statement in Java switches. So here's how it works. Before we move on any further, I'd like to highlight the purpose of an if statement, which is to make sure that the correct condition is satisfied before a certain action is performed. Now, as we know, Java is entirely based around values of variables, and so are all computer programs. Now, let's say you move your mouse cursor to an app, right? Now, to launch that app, you need to click on the app. So an if statement for that event would look something like: if left mouse button is clicked down, launch app, else don't do anything. And let's say you want to see what would happen if you right click, so it would be if mouse button left click, open curly braces, launch app, else if right mouse button click, open menu for the app, right? And else would be do nothing. Basically, if neither of the mouse buttons click, make sure nothing happens. Okay, so the condition clause of the if statement is an expression that evaluates true or false. Any expression that evaluates like that is known as a boolean expression. This is the fundamental or the core principle of a boolean expression. And later, as you move on to grade 10, you'll have more complex programs which would come under object-oriented programming, which would require the results to be evaluated in Boolean form. Now, since that's a bit more complex, we'll be leaving that behind and just looking at how an if statement works. Alright, now let's move on to the syntax of the if-else statement. So first we have if, which would test for a simple yes or no, right? So if this equals to, if x, let's say you have a variable x and you want to test if the value is 1, or you have a variable x and you want to check the value of that particular statement, and in this case, let's say you want to check if the value is 1 or 2. So the code snippet for that would be if x equal to 1, close bracket, open curly braces, and then you'd have system.out.println quote x equal to 1 unquote, and then close bracket with a semicolon. Now let's say you want to check if the value is 2, but you want to do it under the same if statement. That's when the if else statement would come in. If else, it's else if, by the way, not if else. I just want to make that very clear. Else if open bracket and then x equal to 2, close bracket, open curly braces, system.out.println x equal to 2, close bracket, and semicolon. But let's say x is neither 1 or 2 and it doesn't satisfy the if or the else if statement. That's where the else command comes in, or the else statement comes in. It'll be part of your same code snippet and it would do something as else, open curly braces, system.out.println x not equal to 1 or 2. And that's how the three statements work in collaboration with each other. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how they work, and by how, I'm talking about the logical operators that make the if statement possible. As you guys have learned in the fundamentals of Java, there are two types of operators which are mainly used in if statements and switch case statements, which you'll learn about later. Now, the first type of operator is a unary operator, which switches the value of the Boolean expression, and it only acts on one variable at a time. Now, in the case of binary operators, they act on two variables at a time. And we have the OR operator and we have the AND operator. Now, for the OR operator to work, only one condition has to be satisfied. And for the AND operator to work, both conditions have to be satisfied. And just to give you an example, let's say you have two variables x and y. And if x, and let's say here's the use case for the AND operator. Now, if you want a program which should check if x equals to 1 and y equals to 2, okay, but it's compulsory that x must be 1 and y must be 2. In that case, you'd use an AND operator. It would be if x equal to 1 and y equal to 2, system.out.println, condition satisfied. But let's say you have a program where you want to check if either x is 1 or y is 2, and it's not compulsory that both are their respective values. In this case, you have if x equal to 1 or y equal to 2, system.out.println, condition satisfied. Now let's go for the unary operators. Now there's more unary operators which you can see on screen. There's the not operator, there is the greater than or less than operator, and the greater than or equal to operator, and the less than or equal to operator. Now in this case, I'll be giving you an example after we discuss how they work. Now for the not operator work, the value must not be equal to. So if x not equal to 1, of x exclamation mark equal to 1, system.out.println, x not equal to 1, right? And for most of these are very self-explanatory, so I expect you to understand on your own. And now let's take a look at an example of an actual program. Alright, so on screen I have a program which mimics our parents' instructions with respect to time. I know no one likes to sleep, but I think I thought it was a very good example if we could just use this as a sample program. So we have a variable time set to 20, and if the time is less than 18, it's not your computer will print out it's not yet 6 p.m. But else if time is greater than or equal to 18 and time is less than or equal to 22, system.out.println, good evening. And else, which is like a default statement, it's bedtime. Now I could change this to anything else, but given that our conditions satisfy both morning and evening, I'd say it's bedtime would be the most appropriate statement here. Now as you can see, I've run it once. I'm going to run it again just to show you how it works. It prints hello world, which is a standard, and then good evening. Now let's say you want to see if the other conditions work, so I'm going to make it 24, right? It's bedtime. Now I know some of you are thinking, well, time can basically be made infinite and that would print as bedtime. So in that case, there's something known as a nested if statement, which would require me to put an if statement outside all of these if statements, and I'm sure that's something you'll learn in an upcoming lesson, in a lesson where we can teach you about nested ifs and nested switch statements. But I think that's all for today, and thank you very much.